Pray. Father, thank you so much, Lord, for your kindness towards us. Thank you so much, Lord God, for the way that you're working in and through us, Lord, to make an impact on our Jerusalem, our Samaria, our Judea, and the uttermost parts of the earth. And so, Father, now open our hearts. Help us, Lord God, to grow in you a little bit today, to get a bigger heart, Lord, for not only you, but what you have called us to do on this planet. We love you today. It's in Jesus' name. Amen. So I'm not going to do like a whole, this is what I did on my summer vacation thing and show you a bunch of pictures. However, I will, and I do have a few stories to tell, and we eventually will get to the Bible, absolutely, and then have a little challenge, and then we're going to take communion today, and then go enjoy a beautiful, beautiful winter day. True? So one of the questions that I received from people when I got back was, well, like, what's the craziest thing that you saw? Like, did you eat like monkey brains out of it? No, didn't do that, you know. But food, no, that's not really that crazy. I got to eat in an Indian restaurant every day. That's pretty darn cool. Driving is pretty crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen video or anything of driving in India, but a horn is a way to yell at people. There are different kinds of horn blasts. One is like beep beep, like I'm here. Another one is get out of my way. Another one is like an angry horn, like that just kind of goes on for a while. But if you have 1 inch on the car beside you, you have the right of way. 1 inch. Then that means you can cut them off. You can just go. You can just do whatever you want. Fantastic, amazing thing though. Didn't see one accident the whole time. 1.3 billion people. And didn't see one accident the whole time. Craziness, but it's pretty. It's fun to sit in the front seat of the bus when they're passing cars and the other ones are coming your way. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, pretty nuts. But really, probably the craziest story I heard was about a demonic parrot. A demonic parrot, yes. So there was he's not a witch doctor. What is he, Nathan? What would he be? He's like a witch doctor, yes. He's a witch doctor, and he does tarot card reading, and he does divination for people. And he had a parrot that would flip the cards over. And so this parrot was, because the guy was full of demons, the parrot was full of demons too, and would do whatever it needed to work with the demon world, and the guy got saved. Yeah, the guy got saved. So I don't know if the parrot got saved. They probably just like got rid of the parrot. They probably just let it go out in the wild or something. But I thought that was pretty crazy. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty nuts. So anyway, we're gonna tell some like real good stories, not just like crazy ones like that about what happened. But just for grins, just so you guys kind of see like where we were. So that's the country of India right there, right? So we flew into this city right here, Bangalore, and then hung out there for a couple days. Drove up here to this town called Chittoor. Drove down here to this little town called Vandiperiyar, right here, right there, and then over to Kochi. Just for context, like from here to here is like 6 hours drive. Yeah, it's mountains and pretty fun. And then from there, we were there for a few days, and then we flew up here, so that was about 2.5 hours. And then from Delhi, we went to Agra. Agra is where the Taj Mahal is. That's the Taj. And then did some stuff there, and then went to Delhi, was there, and then flew back home. So that was that. So as you all know, Nathan and Jenny Carlson, who go to church here, are part of a ministry called UEM, United Evangelistic Mission. And, they're pretty low-key about it. I don't know if you probably didn't even know that they were involved with it. And for years and years and years, I've watched them go over to India, and I've been like, man, I want to go sometime. So, I guess what? I got to go. It was great. So anyway, UM is run by this fellow named John Peter Kilabagaran. Did I say it right? Close enough, yeah. So he said the way that you remember it is kill a bug and run. So John Peter, kill a bug and run. That's kind of that's kind of remember it. He's in his 40s now, but when he's in his 20s, he got in a motorcycle accident, and he almost died, and he felt like the Lord gave him another chance to do life again. And so rather than running away from God, he chose to run towards him. And the Lord has done an amazing thing in his life. And his goal, believe it or not, in life is to evangelize the entire nation of India. So there are 696 counties in the entire country of India. There's like 28 states and 6 districts. So it's, there's a lot going on there as far as how things are set up geopolitically. But the way that the Lord has instructed him on how to evangelize the nation is through community transformation centers, CTCs. And so how that works is he doesn't buy a building. Instead, he partners with a pastor in a location. So rather than paying rent on a building, he works with a pastor who is interested in the Great Commission. He is responsible for helping bring people in. So they train 12 pastors at a time. So the church gets interns to help do the work, and then the ministry trains that. So the pastor in that local CTC helps trains up the pastors. They have all the curriculum, everything is done. There's 9 right now, right? 9 CTCs, and some of them now they're on their multiple graduating class, and so now they're doing it. So they want a total of, so what's 696 divided by 12? 58? Is that right? 58? Yeah, so 50. So what he wants is 58 centers throughout the whole country, and to continually pump out these 12 pastors every year or year and a half is about how often they do it. And it's a fabulous, fabulous model, fabulous idea. Now, also involved in the CTs are also children's education centers and Talitha Kumi, which is the women's ministry. Now, Talitha Kumi is kind of also a business training center. So women who have been either, come out of sex slave trade, or they're just ladies that are in the neighborhood that want to learn a trade can come and be a part of it. It's interesting. You guys probably have heard that name before. Talitha Kumi comes from Mark chapter 5 when Jesus is praying for a lady and he tells her to get up and walk. So Talitha Kumi was started when one day John Peter's wife brought 6 homeless women home one day. Hey, honey, guess what? They're going to live with us. No, I don't think that's going to work. And so what she did was, right at that same time, she brought home a jar of tomato pickle, they call it, tomato chutney. It's kind of like this tomato stuff. And John Peter was eating it, and he was like, wow, this is the best tomato pickle I've ever had in my life. And his wife got jealous because he liked that tomato pickle better than her tomato pickle. So she dissected it and studied it to find out what was in it. And she went to the store and she bought 25 kilos of tomatoes. So 25 kilos is 55 pounds, so that's a whole bunch of tomatoes. Spread them out all over her house, made this tomato chutney that was like phenomenal, made like 1,000 jars of this stuff, and sold every one of them and made enough money for those 6 homeless women to stay in their house for 2 months. Isn't that kind of cool? So that's how Talitha Kumi started, and I don't know how many years ago that was, but now they are graduating lady after lady. And when we went to several Talitha Kumi centers, almost every one of them are Hindus who eventually convert to Christianity. Now there are still some that haven't converted, but almost every person in the ministry that ever comes into it, they're not Christians. They're Hindus predominantly. There's some Muslims that do come, but for the most part, they're not just stealing Christians from another church, as it were. They're serious converts. I mean, people who really convert. And so one of the things, and we're going to work this out later, I'm not quite sure how this is going to happen, but one of the things that the ladies can do after they graduate is they can buy a sewing machine. So they can work with UEM and they can buy a sewing machine, and then they have to pay a little bit back every month. But when these ladies graduate, they are like full-blown qualified tailors. I mean, they are good. In fact, they gave me, one of them gave me their graduation sewing book. right here. So like this is how they do like buttonholes, and then there's like little pants and little undies and like some frilly undies and like some skirts and tops and different things. So this is like what they have to make to graduate. And so then when they finish this, then they can move on to sewing for Calvin Klein and all those kinds of other people. And so what they do is they actually can subcontract with companies and sew in their homes, because they really don't want to go outside the home to work. They would rather stay inside the home. But the very, very sad thing about meeting the Talitha Kumi women is most of their husbands are in opposition to what they're doing. They have not converted. Their wives have. In fact, one lady who gave a testimony that morning, her husband beat her that day for going to graduation. This lady right here was baptized in water, everybody, that you wouldn't even wash your dog in. Seriously. And these two brothers, these two training pastors, stood in this water for an hour. First waiting for us to show up, waiting for all the cute little Americans and their whatever, sissy whateverness, their little lily white whateverness, to come down and be by the water. And then there were 10 people. Listen to this. There were 10 people scheduled to be baptized. 8 of them backed out because of persecution. It's serious. It really is. Changing religions in India is illegal. It's illegal. Now, some places they prosecute, some places they don't. To sponsor some sewing machines. I think that would be very, very cool. And I'm not quite sure exactly what the cost on those is going to be. It's something like $225 for a sewing machine. But by providing that for a lady, you're providing something for the rest of her life to not only earn that amount, but bunches and bunches more. And so like I said last week, we are figuring out a way to get back there. I want a team. I'd like to see about a dozen of us go. But I think it would be very, very cool if you sponsored a sewing machine for us to figure out which lady received that and for you to meet that woman. I think that would be very, very special. And then there's some other things with sponsoring children in the schools and things like that we're going to try and get involved in. But I think that it's going to be a really, really cool thing. So a couple of little things that happened. So we got to go to different villages. And so in this one village of Shatur that we went to, we got off our bus, backwoods, just like road after road, turn after turn, and pretty soon we're just in this tiny little village, and we get off the bus, and I hear music. And I'm thinking, wow, that's kind of cool. Well, we're walking, it's getting louder and louder, and we end up in the house where the music is coming from. It's like, whoa, they're having a worship service. It was really, really cool. There were about 25 people there. So Jenny got to greet everybody there from you all. So you greeted some people in India, whether you know it or not. That's kind of the polite thing that you do. The team leader, Kirk, said hello to everybody. But then I got to preach. It was really, really cool. So I preached from Luke chapter 12, the story of Jesus healing the leper. And so here's kind of what's cool about that story. The leper is considered untouchable. The leper had to walk around if he had a skin disease or she had a skin disease. They had to walk around saying, unclean, unclean, don't come near me. Well, as you know, in India, there is a caste system. And there are 4 levels of people within the caste. So you have the head, the shoulders, the legs, and the feet in the caste. But then you have the dirt underneath the feet. And the dirt underneath the feet are the Dalits. They are the untouchables. They're the ones that are not even allowed, they're not even supposed to even be in contact with any of these 4 people. They're not supposed to talk to them. They're not supposed to touch them. And a predominant amount of people that we got to minister to are in that group. So in a way, everybody, they are outcast. They are not even a part of the system. So what's fabulous about that story is there's a connection between them being untouchable and this leper who is untouchable. And what that did was it paved the way for them to receive from the Lord in a great, great way. So when we were done and we started praying for people, this one woman came up whose family was, she just had gotten saved, and everyone in her family was Hindu, so we prayed for her. And then this other little lady came up, and she so I needed an interpreter to find out what she said. But she said, I can't see and my back hurts. So and you could tell she couldn't see just by the way that her eyes kind of were. And she came up and I couldn't help it, but I like laid my hands on her head and I put my thumbs on her eye sockets. And I was just praying for her, and then I could feel my fingers starting to get wet. And then she opened her, she kind of looked up and she was kind of like smiling, and then she opened her eyes and she went like that because she wasn't expecting to see a big white guy in front of her. I mean, because, Indian men are about this tall and, they're a little darker than me. And it was so cool because she did that and everybody, she could see. She could see. It was so cool. And then she was marching around the little place. I can see. And then I said, okay, that's great. That's awesome. That's cool. Ask her to do something else. Her back hurt. She bent over and touched her toes. She goes like, I haven't done that in 2 years. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Bring me somebody else. So this is her. This is her. Isn't she sweet? Yeah. Precious. Just so precious. And then we were walking out. of the little house, and there was a woman that was sitting there that hadn't moved the whole time we were there. And I said, what's going on? What's going on here with this lady? And they said, oh, she hasn't walked in 3 months. I was like, well, shoot. I mean, come on. So we prayed for her, and everybody, she got up, and she walked for the first time in 3 months. Isn't that awesome? She was so excited. But you know what? I think the people that were standing there were much more like shocked than she was. They were like, oh. This guy, he was just, he was just like, oh my gosh, this man was like, oh, sweet. And it was so cool. It was just far beyond cool. And then we were kind of bouncing around, going to different houses in the little town, and we went and prayed for a lady whose 16 and 15-year-old sons were kind of being a little bit cantankerous, and so we prayed for her rebellious sons. And then we were walking out, and there was a man sitting there with leprosy. And at first I was kind of like, and I was like, wait a second. And I went over and I laid hands on him. I was like, no, but I was like, this disease, it's not going to travel. This disease is gonna go from this man's body. And at first I was like, whoa, freaking out. But then I was like, no way. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And I prayed for him, and who knows what happened, but we left. And then the very last thing, so all this happened in one little village. We prayed for a couple about something. We prayed for this gal who needed a job. This whole family. So this is grandma, this is mom, and these are 2 daughters right here. But this little girl just got her degree in engineering from some college, and she needed a job. She was like, yeah, I need a job. It's like, okay, well, we'll pray for it. So, but a little tick-tick is, the little rickshaw things with a little, they're green and red, and they're all over the place. One was traveling by us when we were about to get on the bus, and the driver stopped, put his doobie down, and came over and wanted me to and grab my hands and put them on his head. And he said, namaste, namaste, and then he was speaking in whatever they speak there, Tamalalahill or whatever it's called, Malalayalam? No, anyway, they don't speak Hindi there, but they speak something else. And he wanted us to pray for him. It was the wildest thing. So I prayed for him, and then he jumped back in his little tick-tick and grabbed his doobie, and, it took off. And I thought, God, use it however, whatever you want to do. But sometimes, you have to put yourself in a position where you get out of your normal life. You have to purpose. You have to purpose to do something different. You know, why do we save $3,500 and jump on an airplane and go 12 time zones and go to and hang out in a culture that is just, there is nothing familiar whatsoever, and to experience that kind of thing, so that you can see the Lord move in innocence. It is dark. There's demons all over the place. Well, Mark, how come we can't pray for people here and have them get? We can. But you know, we have demons here too. We have demons of lethargy and apathy. We have demons of, I have a checkbook big enough to write away my problem. I don't have to trust the Lord. Our demons are different here. Our demons are materialism and comfort. And they keep us from worshiping Jesus radically. They keep us from being fanatics about him. Because I promise you, if you want to see the Lord move bad enough, he'll use you. And it isn't about, well, I prayed for somebody and nothing happened. No, pray for somebody. Just pray for people. And if you've been prayed for a bunch of times for something, get prayed for again. Every week, we've got prayer people standing up. Come. As small as the thing may be, let the Lord use that thing to bring him glory. Every service we went to, there were testimonies after testimonies after testimonies of people who were doing different things for the Lord. And it's just phenomenal. So you have to break out of your world to let the Lord show you that, okay, maybe he's bigger than what I think he is. And and I promise you, if you've never traveled like that, you will not take your country for granted anymore. You know how we have lanes in our streets and people stay in them? Well, they have those there too. But there's 6 cars where there should be 3. And it's not, it's absolutely not. Here's a Talitha Kumi Center. So all these ladies that day graduated. They got certificates. I even have a picture of Nathan giving one of the ladies a certificate. See the sewing machines over here? See those right there? So they train right there. So real quick, this guy Krupa, his name's Krupana. So this guy is like John Peter's right-hand man. He's like the Austin Brammer of CRBC. And one day we were talking, and he said to me, you know, Mark, you Americans, you're so worried about Islam. You know, you are so worried about that. He said, you need to be more worried about Hinduism. Because Islam is ferocious and big. And terror, right? Mean, like loud. They'll like, sometimes it's all bark and no bite, right? Because they've done something in the past, you don't know if they're telling you the truth or not. But Hinduism is like a snake. It's stealth. It's sneaky. And their goal, just like the other religious goals, are to take over the world. They want to do that too. And they know that it's fertile here because Americans are kind of dumb. Oh, what's wrong with yoga? That's just exercise. There's a lot more to it than that. Some of the Hindu ideas, everybody, when he started talking about this with me, I need to tell you this one story. So see this guy right here? So he's now a CTC student. And I got to do a baby dedication at this service. It was so cool. I don't know how that worked out, that I was picked to do that. Oh, it was you? You made that happen? Oh, it was the Lord. The Lord knew. When we do baby dedication, it's like one of my most favorite things that I get to do. There's something about that that's very, very special. And so they had a baby dedication that day, 2 little babies. And somehow the Lord knew that was just a joy of my heart, so they asked me to do it. And so typical CRBC. Hey, guess what, everybody? We're dedicating. We're not baptizing because we know that we want them to be raised up and trained up and then on their own decide to get water baptized. And so same thing, exactly, no different. Prayed for them, gave the kids back, went over to the corner of the stage and just bawled my eyes out. But this guy right here, and I had a picture of his wife and the baby. This guy right here, so it was his wife and his baby that we got to dedicate that day. But listen to this. His wife was being baptized, water baptized one day. And was he next in line? He was next in line to be baptized. But something happened, and he started manifesting not just any old demon, but like a demon from like a regional demon. So not just like a little squirmy one that just like controls one person, but like the voice of like a whole area. Like, you cannot be here. We are stronger than Jesus. Jesus has no power here. What you're doing is foolish. And scary stuff, right? Well, they baptized the wife, and then they just kind of hogtied the guy and threw him in the water. And when they did that, he was fine. He was totally fine. Everything just kind of washed off of him, and now he's training to be a pastor. Just very, very cool. And then the very last thing, so they were all kneeling at the front, the 12 CTC students. They were all kneeling at the front, and we were going along, we were praying for each one. And when I got to him, when I had my both hands on his head, I was praying, and it was as if a 220 volt charge went through his body. Literally like that. Just jumped. And I was like, wow, that was cool. So I prayed for him again, and he was like right in front of a step, and he was kneeling down, and the same thing happened again. He fell back, and his back hit the corner of a wooden stair. And I don't know what happened to him, but he if it was me, I would have been like, take me to the ER. But he just like kept praying, and I was like, man, serious. Just love Jesus. I mean, give me more. Anybody that would lay hands on them and pray for them, they just. So that's this guy right here. Very, very cool. So so this was in Agra, real quick. I know I keep saying this, but it's dangerous up there. In fact, where we were scheduled to speak that day, they moved the meeting, and they bussed all these people in because the authorities found out where we were going to meet, and they were going to do something. I don't know what they were going to do, arrest us all or something. But one of the things that happens is the van driver. So we had 4 vans. The van drivers sometimes work with the authorities. And so I don't know if this was happening with us, but they will relay back to the authorities all of our conversations. And if you say the H word, Hinduism, or I or M for Islam or Muslim, they share that. And the Christians then are monitored and watched and followed everywhere they go, because it's clandestine in a way. You got to really be careful. But everybody, it's so much fun. You got to go, okay?